Okay, here we are. This is our week number 4 of our June, July boot camp. Let me get the mute going here. So good morning and good day or good evening, or I don't know, wherever you are. Hello. And we are excited about week number 4. We're going to be talking about sort of the capstone or the kind of the final segment in this beginner, essentially, going from a new coach to bringing on clients to supporting those clients and integrating them into community. And so today's boot camp is going to be talking about someone is now a client. They're on program most of the time. That's the 5-in-1, but I want to be careful to not make assumptions that always it's the 5-in-1, because it's not, but 95% of the time it is. And so now we get to the point where they've been on their program, and if they're on the 5-in-1, they've lost at least 5 pounds. It's between 5 and 12. Sometimes they lose very quickly, but you want to wait until they've at least lost 5, and then we introduce them a second or potentially third time to our coach community, to our support community, to the rest of the um, almost team that they have that's rooting for them to make a life shift and it's like they look at their life through a specific portal, and we're going to recalibrate that, and now we're going to have them look at life from over this side. They really have to look at life differently and attack life differently, because they have to show up differently in the choices that they make, or it's going to be temporary. If they keep their same perspective, but they just kind of bolt on sort of a diet, then when the diet goes away, they go back to the old way. And we want them to recalibrate. To Dr. A calls it reorienting. So it's like you're watching the movie from a different seat. And so that's the idea. We're trying to have people recalibrate, reorient. One of my coaches, I remember, her name is Christy, she said, creating a new normal. It's a new normal. It's different than the old normal, because the old normal was not something they wanted. So we're trying to recalibrate them to a new normal. So we plug them into this community, and we try to have the strength in numbers approach, where they're connecting with other people that are on the same journey. The terminology that I like to say is we're a community of people that aren't as healthy as we want to be, and we've decided to work on it together. And so that pretty much opens the door to so far, everybody that I've ever met, when I've asked them that question, they said, no, I'm not as healthy as I want to be. Not everybody has said, I want to do something about it, but many have. So that's the story today. That's what we're going to be talking about today and having some group discussion. But I want to bring on my partner in health. Many of you are partners in health.
It's crime. Partner in
Yeah,
crime.
I didn't want to say crime, but we're health pirates, right?
Health pirates. Yeah.
Hi, Troy.
Hi, Craig. Good morning, everybody. So, as I kind of look at our closing of our 4 weeks, one thing that kind of really brings to mind to me is that as you all are learning and growing, are you utilizing all the tools as we were talking about it? And that's one thing that if you see people over and over and here again, and they're not really capturing and really, kind of taking it back to the tribe, I'd say your coaches, then what are you really doing? And so, always think about the things that you are changing. And these are all small changes. I was talking to Coach a couple of days ago, and, old technology, she doesn't know, how to use a well-being evaluation, that type of thing, but she's been a coach for longer than I have. And so what's interesting about that is that everybody's in a different spot, but if you're willing to grow and learn, what will happen is your growth will be exponentially in who you bring on and how they look at you as basically a kind of a mentor, because you really are. As you are guiding your clients through the process, you want to make sure that you, first of all, have their trust. but second of all, you have their best interest at heart. So as you're doing that well-being evaluation, the first thing I always say, when I talk to anybody, it's like, hey, so let's do a well-being evaluation, and then even question it. So if we posture things in the way that how we're learning in this boot camp each time, then it will get better and better at what you're doing. Because in reality, I've been doing this 7 years, but I don't know everything. I'm here to learn too, and I think we all are. We're all in a different place. Just like what Craig was saying too, is that as you look at wanting to really understand, first of all, are your coaches using this? Is it something you're teaching? Is it something you're bringing, and they're understanding it? And that's the one thing I really, what's caught is taught, right? If it's caught, is it really taught in the way that they're understanding it?
It's great. Thank you, Troy, for that. And I want to re-emphasize the exercise that you know how to do. Let's say you're, what's a funny jazzercise, right? I'm just silly old workouts that nobody does anymore. You don't get the benefit. Any exercise that you don't do, you can't get the benefit of something you don't do. And the joke that I always tell people is, I know how to date my wife. And when she comes and asks me and says, how come we don't go on dates anymore? I know how to do that, honey. Think how far that gets with her. She's like, so like, where's the, like knowing how to do it it doesn't help the conversation. It actually makes it worse, because if I know how to do it and I don't do it, then she's like, what gives, right? So dating your wife you only get the value out of dating your wife is if you actually take her on a date, right? And I know some of your wives, maybe you're like, yeah, like, what's up? Take me on a date, right? And so it's just a funny thing from the husbands. I mean, she plans dates and we do that. But the reality of the situation is you only get the benefit of the exercise you do. Someone said, what's the best exercise? Does anybody know what the best exercise to do? Does anybody want to take a stab at the answer? It's kind of a riddle, but well, the best exercise is the one you do.
Yeah, there's no there, but Craig, the thing of it is, there really is no best exercise.
Well, it's you choose the one that you do is the best exercise, right? So that's what you'll do. Yep. And so I want to basically try to help you get into the mindset of making a choice to take action. And I can only encourage that. I can only help awaken that desire that I want that thing over there. Oh, okay. So if I want that over there and I'm over here, then I've got to go over there, right? I have to take action to move where I am at to go over there. Now, it's always best, and I think it's helpful, is if you decide to go from here to there, if you go with somebody else that's been there, that makes it more doable. And that's what our model is built on. But the reality of community is if you don't value community or plug into community yourself, then how can you non-verbally communicate that it's a value if you don't go? And when you're creating community yourself for your team, is the party that you create the one you would want to attend? Community is kind of like a party. Do you create meetings that people would want to go to? Right? Is your Facebook client support page, like, if you're some standards are, if you're a national director and above, then you might want to think about having your own Facebook client support group. Before that, you just want to be part of your mentors. And then after that, you want to consider, maybe that's something I would look at, but check with your mentor on that. But when let's say you run your own Facebook client support page, is that a page you would want to go to? Or do you hate going there? Right? Think about that whole community piece. And what we've been doing with our group is we've brought on some new coaches, and many of you guys, this is your third boot camp where we've taught these same 4 skills or these same 4 weeks of lessons. And so people, some of you have brought on coaches and clients, and they've done the well-being eval. They've become clients. They did that first meet and greet and got that exposure to the coaching community. And then they got into fat burn, they're 5 pounds down. And then they did this one we're going to be teaching on today. And they don't know any different. We have a couple people that are going to the wellness retreat. You guys may have heard it as convention, but this wellness retreat that's happening on July 20th, and that are going, that community is second nature to them. They don't know anything different. And they just know, oh yeah, that's just part of what this thing is different. And this is why. So curious about how you guys have been taking action. When I said last week that I'd love for you to do that meet and greet script at least twice with yourself, with the mirror, with your phone video camera, with your spouse, with whatever. I'm curious because if you didn't do it, that's again like that exercise you just didn't do. So who wants to? If you want to, I'm curious to say, as with just a visual raising of hands, who practiced it at least once? Okay. All right. So most of you, yeah. So the ones that guess what, we have today's a new day. So the ones that haven't done it yet, you can call your mentor and say, hey, let's do this. Or look in the mirror and just read it. I'm telling you, it seems silly, but the pros don't think it's silly at all. The pros do it as a necessity. Do you want to be a professional health coach and help change many lives? So curious, go ahead and raise your hands, or yeah, Susan, you've got your hand up, but go. So why don't we start off with Susan? Go ahead. I'll unmute you there. Or actually it is. There we go. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Technology challenge this morning.
You know, but you do challenging stuff all the time.
Yeah, tell me. Okay, well, you know what? I did it with myself, but I did do it in the car because I didn't have time to do it in the mirror. But it's smoother just after doing it a couple of times. That's what my comment would be, is that it's you know, the first time I looked through it, it's like, I'm not going to do this. This is crazy. I'm not going to do this. And then I did it once and it was like, oh, maybe I should do this. So
thank you for doing it. Because I heard that voice in my head so many times, but so it didn't kill you by doing it. You might feel a little weird in your car.
I did it once with my 7-year-old grandson in the car, and he thought I was crazy, but
he probably thought you were crazy before that, though, Susan.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So, Susan, curious, as you see if you were to say the point of that script, and this is the new client meet and greet, the point of that script is generally what? What's the takeaway, would you say?
Community,
yeah. Kind of digging a little deeper. What are the main points we're trying to sort of make sure we hit, the checkpoints?
just that there's lots of team.
They're not alone.
Lots of people there for you. It's not just, and that it's not a diet. You know, a lot of my clients are on a diet, and they want, you know, and some of them just want to lose weight. They don't want anything to do with anybody else. But there are some, if you invite them, will go into the community, and it enhances their experience.
Well, yeah, and here's some. Thank you, Susan. Here's some little bit of strong words. How many of us put people on a diet when we talked about this being
Absolutely
a wellness program, right? We said this is not a diet, but we put them on a diet. Why? Because we were too chicken to invite them to community. Maybe we had the habits of health in their first order. Maybe we didn't, right? But if we did, we never talked about it because we haven't read it ourselves. It's a book that can be read. It's not like a different language that you don't know, right? But so think about that. How many of us are diet coaches and we don't understand the community and we're kind of afraid of that, but we say, this is not a diet. This is a lifestyle change. Is it? Who else wants to talk about that's done that walked someone through that? Yeah, Rick, go ahead. Oh, and you get it. Yep.
All right, good. So the diet thing, and we're always telling people this is not a diet. So what makes it different than a diet if we're not utilizing these 4 cornerstones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they eat the magic food. Yay, they're on the diet. They've lost 5 or 10 pounds. Woo! Are you celebrating them? Are you celebrating them with someone else? Are you showing them that they've got more support than just you? That you're a community of like-minded people that have the lifestyle in mind versus the diet mindset?
Mm-hmm.
And utilizing all of those 4 cornerstones is essential in making the shift from diet mentality to lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
And without one, if we fail in utilizing one of those cornerstones, it's still just a diet. We have to have all of those in place. It's the foundation of health.
Yep. As you said something there, Rick. By the way, the 5-in-1 by itself is, it is just a diet. Now it's a fancy, scientifically awesome, and super simple, powerful weight loss program. And man, as soon as the 5-in-1 ends, so do the results, right? I had a client say this to me. It wasn't my client. He said, man, my mom did that meta fast, right? And she lost all her weight. And I almost started to say, time out. So she was successful, but he just jumped right over that. So after she lost all her weight, when she went back to eating the way she used to eat, she gained all her weight back. And I said, hold on a second. Let me get this straight. So you're telling me, right? And he goes, yeah. And I go, what did she expect to happen? Right? She went back to eating the crappy way that she used to eat, and she gained all her weight back. And he said, that program doesn't work. And I was like, I thought you said she lost all her weight. Well, she only did phase 1. She only did the weight loss, and it worked very well. She didn't realize there was something after the weight loss, which was actually changing the way she lives. So all of our programs and all of the things that we do within Optavia are designed to offer lifestyle change and offer a result that helps you to get what you want long term. Because there's life after that. There's life after the diet. There's life after the weight loss. And so if people integrate to that, they will, and it's hard. They go, oh, but this is hard. Yeah, but wasn't being fat hard too?
You know what, too, Craig? You know what, too, is that you pick your hard.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell a lot of my clients. It's like, oh, well, this is such a hard program, or because of the fact that, it's so strict, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, well, choose your hard.
Structured.
Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have success in your health, or, in my mind, failure? Because failure really is, a lot of people think, well, I don't want to fail. But then when they, go through the program, just like you're talking about, they were doing the diet. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, she lost so much weight, then she gained it all back. Well, of course. I mean, think about, if you don't change behavioral habits, you're going to gain it all back. No question.
You can't not, unless you broke the world. Because sowing and reaping, choices and consequences, all that is, it's still real. Even after the 5-in-1, you still have basic physiology at work here.
Karen has her hand up. Go ahead, Karen.
Yep.
Okay. What when you asked what it did for me, what it did for us, bringing that into it, I remember the first time after I had practiced that and did that with Brian. What was really interesting to me was that question about why did you choose to partner with Karen as your coach? And that question, when my client started talking about me as a coach and why she chose to partner with me, it just kind of solidified a more commitment to each other, because I saw, I wouldn't have picked up on that. I would not have picked up on what they thought about me otherwise, because my thoughts were about them. But when my coach brought in that aspect of it, it was like, wow, she really has a high regard for me, or she really thinks something of me, you know, and it just brought me closer to that person. I mean, I think about it now, and I always get a little bit of teary-eyed thinking about it, because when Brian asked that person, you know, the question who I brought on the call with us, but when he asked her, I mean, it almost brought me to tears, because, you know, I haven't even met her yet, but I have history with her husband, and he kind of looks at me like a baby sister, and you know, the trust that was there and all that. By the way, she's starting program. This is day 1 today. So.
So you're going to be able to utilize, thank you, by the way, Karen, you're going to be able to utilize what we're going to teach today in roughly 3 to 7 days, some time up, right? And
Right.
another thing that I think that you may, as I'm listening to what you said there, is you realize that there's some skin in the game here, that you got some responsibility now and some weightiness that isn't just, here's your box of food, good luck.
Yeah, it made me really accountable to this other person, and that like, okay, I'm really coaching this person, and they,
Reals.
I mean, yeah, it put me on the line with them, and it held me to be accountable to my coach, and also my coach to me, and like Brian to that person now, because he like said, I'm there for you. So this is another sense that brings it in, and it solidifies that community.
Thank you, Karen. So here's a couple, that's perfect. I love that you have more ownership, because you realize that this is real. And so here's a couple of things I want you to write down. These are little bonuses from the wisdom of Terry Miller. You guys probably heard of her. She's a coach. She's working at getting the basics down.
Who's that?
One day she
Terry
might
Miller?
be really successful. I don't know. But so Terry and I we're doing some mentoring this last week, and I had, if I had a foot, it would have been in my mouth. There's a late joke for us all. Thanks. But I put my foot in my mouth and kind of hurt someone's feelings, and it was a bull in a china shop. And so she was coming alongside me and mentoring me to help get a different result. And she asked me, she gave me these 2 phrases. And when you're going through someone's well-being evaluation and you say all the things back to them, like, so here's where you started, and here's where you want to be, and this is why, and you do all that thing, you can say, and you can do this when you're reviewing a map with somebody. It's these 5 words. So what do you see? It's so simple and awesome. So what do you see? Right? And so, because you just told them, you've showed them the bookends, you showed them what they want, they're not where they want to be, all this kind of stuff. You've explained how to get them there. So what do you see? And the comment she said is, if I tell them what they see, it's a lie. If they tell me what they see, it's the truth. So what do you see? And then another one that she's talked about is trying to avoid giving advice or telling people what to do. But when you have an answer for a situation, but you're not sure whether you should say it or not yet, you can say, well, I have some experience in that particular area, or I've been around the block a few times. But what I really want to know is, what do you need from me, or how can I serve you, or what do you want? And that's a nice way of saying, I've got advice, but in our community, in our American culture, if you say, hey, I have some advice, do you want it? Rarely will someone say no, because that's rude. They'll say yes, even if they don't want it. So that's a nice way of saying, so I've been around the block. I have some experience with this situation, but really I want to know is, how can I serve you? And they may say, well, tell me the advice, or what should I do? Or thanks for listening, or who knows what it is. So those are 2 freebies for our boot camp week 4, courtesy of Terry Miller. So what do you see? And, ways to offer advice without getting permission there. Awesome stuff, guys. I want to really, really, really encourage you. If you haven't taken action on these things, reverse engineer that. Maybe you haven't set aside time to give yourself. If you don't set aside time to work out, you won't. So you got to go to your calendar and say, block, I'm going to work out here. And then tell somebody about it, so you don't just pass over it and go watch TV or something. But so block your time, give yourself some practice time, and practice these scripts. Practice. I'd love to see you actually utilizing and developing your skills with real clients. Like, actually, let's bring on some people and partner with them, because we got some mojo here and we can spread this around, right?
Rita, go ahead, Rita.
I'll unmute you.
Thank you. Well, with that, Clark, I used Clark as my mentor this week with a client who restarted, and she got all the habits of health, had really good intention, did not choose. She just kept not doing, of course, gained quite her weight, some of her weight back, had some other health issues. But her doctor said, this would be helped if you lost weight. She said, I need to make the change. So Clark was on, and what a different person. She's a little embarrassed that she did put, not all of it, but she knows what she did, and she took ownership in that. And now she wants to be involved, and she's really much more connected. So it was going through that for her to realize that she said, Rita, you've always been there for me. I just chose not to be and take hold. I took the diet, and Clark was amazing. We went through the script, and he did the thing, and she didn't know any different, and she was excited. She did a Zoom, and she'd never done one before. Mm-hmm. So that was, for me, is exciting, because I feel challenged sometimes to get them on a Zoom, but once you do, it's really powerful.
It is challenging, by the way, to get them on a Zoom, but if you can, it's worth the effort. And if you can't the first time, try the second time. Perfect.
One thing too.
She immediately had to download the app on her phone because her computer is too old, and she did it and didn't get frustrated. Didn't say forget this. She did, and Clark jumped on, and it was great. And Clark was amazing, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, great.
And I learned from Clark. Right. So
nice. Way to go. Good.
Hey, one thing real quick too, as Rita's talking about, sometimes people are challenged with technology. I just love that you're able to use the messenger video, because it gives them, if you already have them in the chat, if you already have things going on there, hey, why don't we jump on it real quick? Maybe you've never seen them before, right? Maybe you've seen them, but it's been a while or whatever. And as you're talking with them, towards the end, you're like, hey, we have a real cool thing called Zoom, and it's just like this. But then I'm able to share screen and do other things, in Zoom. So, as you look at, sometimes it's a little challenging, but why don't you just kind of get just a little slow? Sometimes we get a little bit slower with individuals, so they can really catch on to what we're trying to do face to face in a way that we're not there. Mm-hmm. Because in reality, I've had a lot of coaches. Well, I don't really like Zoom, or I'm not accustomed to that as much, and it's something you gotta get used to, because in reality, we know this is a kind of a face-to-face business. We can't do the old school calling anymore. It's not as interactive, and people don't see us, and we don't see them.
Let me guys show you, for those of you that, because I realize sometimes technology it's this unknown, like black hole abyss thing that you just, it's just this unknown, scary monster under the bed thing, right? So if you go to your Facebook page, right, and over here where it says Messenger, click on Messenger, right? And now this brings up Messenger. This is just the messaging part of the program. And I'm gonna show you guys right now how this all works. So I'm gonna go Troy, right? And then I'm gonna go Chris. Whoop, Chris Pettit. And I'm gonna go Rick.
We see now Chris is your favorite, huh? I see how you just put Chris in there. Well, you put it Chris below me.
Yeah. And then who else? I'm gonna do Clark, right? Okay, so I just had 4 people. Now the first thing I need to do is say something. So I just put some dots in there. Now it just created a 4-way group, right? Here we all are in this 4-way group. Now look in the top right here. It's got a telephone. It's got a little, I guess that's a picture of a video camera and a circle eye. Watch this. So let's just say, here's what happened. So one of us is the mentor coach, one of us is the coach, and one of us is the client, and we're in a 3-way. Maybe we have 4 people, right? So then when it comes time to do a video chat, we've already talked. Hi guys, welcome, right? So we say some fun words. Bye, we introduce everybody. I go up here and I click on this little button right here and watch what happens. Let me reshare my whole screen. This might blow up your window, but hopefully this will work. So what happens, by the way, if that just got really weird on your screen, go up to the top where the Zoom thing is, and on the right-hand side, you can click and say fit to window. All of a sudden, even though my screen is maybe larger than yours, all of a sudden it'll reformat and reshape. So up to the top where your Zoom thing is, over on the right-hand side, there's a drop-down menu. Click on fit to window. All right. So now everybody sees this. When I click that button over there, this little camera button, it says, oh, you want to ring these people? Yep. I'm going to click call. Watch this. Brings up another window here. And we're probably going to get some wicked echo and stuff, but I'll mute my microphone. So there's Troy. What? Let's see who else is going to join us. Oh, there's Chris. What? Who else? Do you see how hard that was? Nobody had to download an app. Nobody had to go to Zoom. They didn't have to type it. Oh, Clark made it. Are you kidding me? Look at this. All right. Oh, and then somebody's got bunny ears on and a cat head. All right. So, was that too fast, or did you guys catch that? Did that seem like way easy? Maybe the first time you meet face to face, you don't use Zoom. If they're a little techno, but they have Messenger. You have them in a little group. So you just pull up your Messenger, you go up, you click that button, and they just somehow get there. All right. Here's what I would say. Test that out with somebody this week. Do a Facebook video chat with at least 3 people. You can do that from your phone too. So anyway, that was just a little, and then we're getting a bunch of bonuses here. Week number 4 is bonus week. So now what we're going to do, oh, Chris. Hi, Chris. Chris likes to wave at me sometimes.
Hi. I was just going to mention, so, with us practicing the script, us practicing inviting people to all these groups and everything else, practice with Zoom. Definitely practice with Zoom, because it's immeasurable. When I first started this, I'm a tech guy, and when I first started using Zoom, I was confused. So it becomes really simple. And if it's not Zoom, maybe Facebook chat, like Craig was saying. I mean, there's so many different options. You just got to get comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done. By the way, thank you, Chris. I've done the new client meet and greet over phone, and I've done them over Zoom. And both of those work 100% better than not doing them at all, by the way. Like, both of them kill the whole opportunity of not doing it at all. Phone is really good compared to nothing. Like, it's 1,000% better than nothing. Zoom is 1,010% better, right? Zoom is a better connection. Because right now on the telephone, you couldn't see me you couldn't see my hands. You can't see my head bobbling. Well, when you can see somebody, you can see these nonverbal cues. Good job, Don. I saw that. I saw what you did there. So that's why Zoom is better. But Zoom can be a distraction if somebody just gets flustered. So a three-way phone call, almost everybody knows how to answer their phone. So you can start there. Then you can move to maybe Facebook video, right? And then if you can go all the way to Zoom, that's great. The other benefit of having them eventually get to Zoom is that's where our webinars are. By the way, we have these really cool things that happen on Wednesday night. It's called the Habits of Health webinar. You're going to love them, right? Hopefully you guys know about that. All right, so we're going to get in and do a little bit of this script now. And for those of you that I went too fast, this is recorded. So you can fast forward to 30 minutes into this video and get the little description on how to do Facebook video chat. All right. So we're going to go ahead and share screen here. And we're going to go to, I want to show you on our BootCamp page, which we're going to keep the BootCamp page open for a few weeks, but you're going to want to go in here and copy these links off, or you're going to want to pay attention to where this is at. So this is BootCamp Workgroup with Practice, right? And the very first link here is this archives. And so if you click on that, you've got week 1, what we did. And there's the BootCamp. There's the session 1 a.m. and session 2 p.m. Week 2, it's the well-being assessment and your story. Week 3 was, see, I didn't do it right. Let me go ahead and edit that. This is how these things happen. So week 3 was new client meet and greet. Right? That's week 3. And then week 4 is the first client celebration call. Right? And this is the document we're going to be using today. And guess what? As soon as we're done here, I'm going to put this on YouTube and there'll be a link there for today's video. And then Tuesday, you're going to have 2 more links here. So these things fill up as we go. So I want to make sure you know where to go to get the resources for what we're doing. Okay? And so then if you were to click on that, it would take you here. This is the first client story call. I mean, I call it the first client story call because we're reiterating. We do client story calls all the time with people where we're updating their journey. We're reinforcing, mostly for their benefit. I don't necessarily need to know about the new things they're discovering, although it does help me in my journey. But I'm trying to reinforce that this is not just a diet, because more is changing than just the scale. That's one of the reasons why we do this. And so the way this works out, again, if you're not familiar or comfortable, I'm going to make this a little bit larger for some of you so you can see that better. If you're not comfortable with doing a good introduction, maybe you could practice that. If you're not good at something, if you practice, I guarantee you'll get better. And so what's relevant? Practice introducing people and why that introduction is relevant. So the coach gets the 3 people on the Zoom and they says, oh, okay, Troy, you remember Rita? I want to get us together again. You know, Rita was part of or Troy was part of our first call. Maybe the second call, though, is with a different person. You can say, this is another one of our coaches on our support team, and I wanted you to get introduced to more than one person, you know, because you have a lot of people rooting for you. And so Troy's been part of my support team. He's helped me a lot. And Rita's at her 5-pound marker. Dude, stop talking. Stop talking. Like, dude. You don't need to tell her story, right? You just stop talking. And then Troy would jump in, you know, and actually go ahead.
Hey, Craig, one real quick thing. You know, as you guys look at the script, I think it's very important to follow it. And sometimes it won't be, like for me, the first time it was kind of uncomfortable. It was like, do I have to really do this? But you know, time after time, if you keep doing it, then you get better at it and it feels a little bit easier. And, you know, I always kind of challenge my coaches, hey, So have your clients hit the 5 pound mark? Get me on that celebration call. Let's talk about the 5 pound mark. Let's do this, so they can really get accustomed to, of course, my coach is to use it, and I love the practice. The practice is great. We're always practicing. None of us are going to be perfect on this. So, that's really, Craig, important for everybody to kind of look at where you're at now. Are you utilizing this? If you're not, then start utilizing it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Troy. Who here knows Jared Smithson or knows of him? Quite a few of you. Yeah. Married to Amber. Oh my goodness. Did he marry up, right? Amber's incredible. Yeah. They're both amazing, quite frankly. And he said at Go Global, he said, how do you feel about practice? Curious. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you love practice? Do you love practicing something? Or do you avoid practice? Oh, practice is work, right? He said when he played basketball, and he said, I'm going to practice harder than any of you. And what's going to happen on game day? What? Right? He owned practice. He worked as hard as he could, because the harder he worked in practice, the more he focused on his skills, his eye-hand coordination, the better he was going to be when it came time for the game. So, and the term is, if you sweat in practice, you won't bleed in battle, right? So how do you think? Do you avoid practice? Do you think practice is just work and it's not valuable? The reality is, if you love, maybe you just need to make a mental shift and say, even if some part of you tries to avoid practice or realizes it's hard, if you just shift and say, hard is good, practice is good, just tell yourself that mantra, practice is good, I get better. And practice. And when you think about practice, you think, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm going to get better every time I practice. When you do the script one time and you do it a second time, you will get like 200% better. Just in those first two. And every time you get it, it's going to be iteration of a little bit better, a little bit better. I remember my mentor, Tim Cox, he would listen to Dr. A present the program. This is back in the day. He had him on a DVD. We used to have a video or a DVD thing. And he watched it 57 times. And he says, I knew the program, but what I was trying to listen for, when I got to like the 20th time, I was listening to the transitions. I was listening to the information behind the information. How is he going from this thing to that thing? What was he saying what was the fillers? What was those little nuanced things? What if we all became students of health like that? I mean, some of us are stuck really on, what is the 5 and 1? And how do I talk about the 5 and 1? Right? What's a lean and green? Well, practice. You'll learn that too. Okay, lots of sidebars today. Okay, back to the script here. So you do the introduction and the first start here. Basically, the way that this goes is it's pretty much a monologue with the mentor coach, and then they stop and check in with the client, right? And so what I'm curious, as a show of hands, who would like to be the client? Who wants to jump in? Dawn. Yes, Dawn's going to be the client today. And I'm just going to go through this and so you can see the rhythm and flow of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other portion of it, but I'm going to share my screen again. And so Troy, you are the coach. I'm the mentor coach. Dawn's the client. So Troy has gotten us all on Zoom, and he's going to do the introduction. Go ahead, Troy.
Where's Dawn? Hold on. I hate when I can't see people. Don't you? I hate when I can't see people. It's like, ah. Well, Craig, I want to introduce you to Dawn, my client, and just been killing it on program. Craig, this is Dawn, Craig.
Great. Hey, nice to meet you, Dawn. I'm excited to be to be here and connecting with you. I hear you've hit your first 5-pound marker. So I'd love for you to refresh my memory on your main reason of why you wanted to get healthier and start working with Troy.
I wanted to get off the medications, and I wanted to be able to move a little bit easier.
Okay. What kind of medications are you on?
I was on 3 types of insulin and metformin. I'm maxed out on all of those, plus cholesterol medication and a beta blocker.
Wow. All right. And so you're down now. I know we usually set this call up for when you're down 5 pounds. How much have you lost so far?
The first week I did it, I was down 13. I'm now down about 110. 13
pounds. Wow. And 110. Thanks for the additional. That's way to go, by the way. All right. So I'm curious, after that first 13 pounds, if you can, I know it's only been a couple of days, but what are you noticing that is different since you started, besides that the scale moved a lot?
Well, my coach was wise enough to tell me not to get onto the scale every day.
Mm-hmm.
So the once a week helps a lot. Also, the fact that clothes are beginning to fit a little looser, and I'm starting to get energy that I didn't have in quite a while.
Excellent. Awesome. So clothes are fitting looser. That's always a nice change, huh?
Oh,
in the past, it's like, oh, I'm about to pop out. I can't fit in them, but they're getting bigger and you're getting smaller. Actually, your clothes didn't change size at all, by the way. I'm sure you realized that you're the one shrinking, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to hear about what's going on. Your energy is going up, you're shrinking down, and your primary goals of losing, getting off the medications and really kind of getting your life back. So I'm excited to support you and to be part of your team. Of course, your primary resource and your personal coach is Troy. By the way, Troy's an amazing coach. And so that's awesome. You chose wisely. And I've been coaching, though, for a little while. And I'd like to go over a couple of tips with you that I found are super just important for you to have long-term change and not just merely lose weight. So if you have, do you have a pen and a piece of paper that you can write these down?
Sure do.
Okay. So we'll review these at the end. But number one is stay connected with your coach. Troy is your most valuable resource for accountability and to encourage you and celebrate you along the way. Troy will also defend your why if you get complacent. Do you know what that means? That defend
I believe so.
Idea? Yeah. What do you think that means?
He'll remind me of why I'm doing this as opposed to why I want to go back to becoming a pizza machine.
Perfect. That's exactly it. Yeah. The way we say is if you get stuck along the way, Troy's going to remind you about the things we just talked about, what you wanted to do and why you started this. Because at some point you're going to get a lot of that weight off and you might forget those. So he's going to remind you of those and defend that. Yep. By the way, how do you think having a coach will make a difference in this process?
Keeps me accountable, lets me know that I'm not here on an island by myself.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it. That's exactly it. Do you know I have a coach as well? We all have coaches. Even though I'm a coach, I still have a coach. So that's the way our program works. So that's number one, is stay connected with your coach. Number two is make time to explore the Habits of Health system. These include the Habits of Health books, our support calls, and our online community. The simple reality is if we fail to change our minds and our lifestyle, our results will be temporary at best. So take time each week to listen and to read. Have you gotten into the Habits of Health books, or are you familiar with those, what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, if you haven't, have you started reading them then? If you haven't, I have a couple recommendations. Have you started yet?
I have started. It's been a while since I've gotten back into them, but I'm interested to hear your recommendations.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes if people haven't cracked into them yet, it's sort of this big unknown. So I would recommend just to open it up and read the introduction. I mean, the introduction is there for a reason, and it's just a way to introduce you to who Dr. A is, how he talks, and it might spark some interest of like, man, this is really interesting. So I recommend you kind of take some time this week and read through the introduction. Okay. Excellent. So number 3 is about our healthy community. And we want to take some time and build a healthy community around us. This one might take some time to do. So we have a Facebook group that you can plug into right now while you're building your own healthy community. You'll get tips, you'll get some inspiration, you'll share your stories of success with our group, and you'll hear other people share their stories. Do you know if you're part of our Facebook secret group yet?
I believe I am.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. So I would recommend, if you haven't already, maybe go in there and just introduce yourself, or go maybe share with everybody that you're down 13 pounds. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the way we talk about this is living our journey, living our lifestyle change out loud, not keeping that a secret. The more you share with your friends and family about the hard work you're doing and why it's important to you, the more likely they are to support and cheer you on when you're around them. This is great accountability too. We've learned that people will support you in your goals when you're doing things like eating out, or maybe at a party or other social event, even if they aren't very healthy themselves. Who do you think will be your most supportive person for this?
Aside from my coach, she's sitting next to me. That'll be my wife.
Nice. That's awesome. Great. Do you have anybody else besides your wife? Because you might be at an event without her.
Again, my coach has been very good about prepping me when I'm going out to events.
Perfect.
So if I'm not sure, I'll give a call.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Excellent. That's a really good way to use that resource. Awesome. So soon people are going to begin noticing the changes that you're making. You obviously have more energy. You're melting away. You're already down 13 pounds, and you seem happier, right? So when this happens, remember when this happens, you remember your 2 options. We talked about these a little bit earlier, a couple weeks ago, but you can connect them to Troy, of course. He can help them. He's going to help them just like he's helping you. But we find most people prefer to work with someone they already know and trust. And quite frankly, Don, that's you.
Ooh.
Right? Yeah, when you see people around, you already know these people because you're around them and they're saying, what are you doing? Right? So when this happens, we'll ask you if you want to coach them, right? Or if you want your coach to coach them. But you can simply coach them by teaching them the things that you're learning, because you don't know everything about coaching, but you know something about what you've been doing already, right?
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, but either way, we want to make sure that we help them, because oftentimes when people ask, what are you doing? It's because they're looking for some change themselves. Usually we see what we're looking for. So anyway, lastly, I want you to know that we're here to celebrate you and the changes you're making. Troy and I are rooting for you, and we're excited to see the rest of your health continue to improve. At this time, I want to take a minute and see if you have any questions.
Not off the top of my head. I think you've covered everything that I was curious about.
All right. Okay, so here's for our short quiz. Can you remember those 4 tips we just talked about?
Stay connected with Troy, so that he can help me defend my why.
Mm-hmm.
Make time for habits of health, especially we be in production. Join a Facebook group as part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to live out loud.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Nailed it. Well done. And then, so, all right. So it's, you wrote it down. That's awesome. So, and I would say, I know you know them in your minds, but like literally, if you lean into these, you're going to make they're going to make a big difference. All right. So thank you for your time. I can't wait for our next time that we connect. Maybe we'll connect around when you're in the program, maybe a month or so, but it's great to be part of your team, and we'll talk next time.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don. All right, guys. So I've studied that many times, and you could see how I was reading. There was occasional where I would add a little bit of something, and you're going to do that too. but I didn't add a lot of extra. It was just a little something that felt right at the time. The more you practice that, the more you'll be able to, that's going to happen. But you saw that I did go back and I was reading word for word many times, right? So curious insights that you guys have. We have a few minutes left, not much. We have a few minutes left. Any insights as you're seeing that? Did it seem like I was reading a script, by the way? Yeah, you guys saw that I was reading, but it didn't feel like I wasn't. And so take time to read by that, you know.
Clark, go ahead. Go ahead, Clark.
Go ahead, Clark. I'll unmute you.
Yeah, I, in studying the script, you learn the bullet points, the points, your coach introduces you, but your in and out with the client was really cool. Mm-hmm. Each point you're in there asking questions, you're making it more personal than just doing the script. That was very valuable to me.
Mm-hmm. Great. By the way, I talk about the 4 cornerstones. The only one I don't really talk about is the fueling, right? Because that's so obvious. They get that reinforced 5 times a day, every day. Every time they open this magic thing and they eat it, it's reinforced. I want to reinforce the things that they don't open every day, right? Who else has something to say or a comment? Anybody that hasn't shared yet that maybe had? Maureen, I'm curious, as you're thinking through this and you listen to this, do you have anything to offer there?
Well, I just like what Clark said. I really liked how, Craig, you followed the script and it was natural. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes I personally want to go off the script, but then it doesn't accomplish, in my opinion, mm-hmm. the message. I think that consistency, the follow through, you're going to cover everything by what's laid out in front of you. So that's mm-hmm. helping me so much.
Great. There's a confidence, by the way, too. Thank you, Maureen. There's a confidence in following a script because one day when you have a coach, you're like, I don't know what to do. Oh, but I got the script I can hand them. You don't have to be that good. I mean, that good as in you don't have to have these magic ideas on how to move them forward. Just hand them a piece of paper and say, practice this a few times. So hopefully that brings some confidence. Joe.
Yeah.
I unmuted you.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted, sorry, I apologize. I was a few minutes late this morning, but I work a very full-time job during the week, and this is my goal to do this full-time and to have the tools available and the scripts available so that I could just take and run with them. I mean, I have some awesome mentors, both Rick and Troy, but I have to say I've been part of many different groups in my past. I'm a guru, I guess you could call it. But by far, this has been my best experience. And I know I will achieve my goal with you guys because of your help. Maybe I'm not as fast as some of you all, but I'm getting it. I promise you. And it's nice to have these tools and that they work for us. They're at our fingertips. How can you not succeed?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you leave them if you leave them in a pile somewhere,
right.
Exactly. But if you pull them out and you do them, I dare you all to bring on some clients and cross them through. I dare you to help some people to get healthy. I dare you to do some well-being interviews and then introduce them to your coach. It's going to be a little bit extra work, but it's the right work to do. And then I dare you to have these. I mean, seriously, do it. I dare you. Sweat.
Slow and steady wins the race.
That's right.
Yeah, Joe, you said I may not be as fast as you set the pace. This is the course. We don't judge the pace at which you go down it. We just want to make sure you're stepping the right direction, as slow or as fast, or doesn't matter, right? We just want to make sure you're steady-footed. Anybody else as we finish up? Awesome, guys. All right, so we're going to be doing practice on this on Tuesday. And so be familiar. Make sure you download, maybe print the document there, and go through it a few times. Because there was some things that I added in here and there when I was listening to him that you can't really write in because I didn't know what he was going to say, right? So you'll get those. The more you do this, the more it'll feel second nature. And by the way, I just did one of these this last week, and they said we're doing the first client meet and greet. And what did I do? I grabbed I have the piece of paper in one of these plastic things, you know, that hold it. And I grabbed it and I had it in front of me. Yeah, I know this script, but I wanted to make sure I got it right, and I didn't miss anything. And so I pulled it out and I had it right here. Right. So I have my scripts printed out, and even though I have them on the screen too. So, all right, you guys, practice hard, right? Do some practice. We'll come together on Tuesday. We'll practice some more. And I can't wait to see many. I hope all of you guys are joining us at our wellness retreat. They formally call that convention. You probably have heard of the convention, but that happens on July 20th. And don't be afraid to continue to talk about what you're doing. You know, if you invited somebody to go to convention, they may not know what that is. But if you said, I'm going to a wellness retreat and I'm wondering who would like to be part of that, or who's done something like that. We have people, there's not too late. People are still saying yes. 3 people say yes yesterday. It's on one of the people on our team. So don't forget, keep inviting people. And all right, Karen, you had something here and we're going to close up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a quick request from someone. Brian's traveling and I am starting a new client this afternoon. And I'm looking for a volunteer that might be willing to do a meet and greet with me.
Yeah, so meet and greet, that's that simple one, right?
Anybody will raise their hand or message me.
Yeah, Rita. Yeah, so both Rita and Troy are 2 people that can be at your disposal. So
great, because I just texted him and he didn't know the time. It'd probably be like 2 this afternoon, something like that. Starting a new client. So thank you.
Way to go. Way to get in there and tear it up, Karen. All right, you guys, thanks for your attention. And hopefully you guys got a lot out of this, and we'll see you at our wellness retreat here in a couple of days.
Okay, I'll text you guys if I need you. Okay.